Greetings, I am the Lion Clan Chief. Welcome to the Lion Clan. Now in today's video we're going to be covering one of my favorite topics, which is elite military units from African history. Now when it comes to elite military units, usually thanks to pop culture we can name many from Europe and from Asia. For example, the European Knight, the Samurai of Japan, the Immortal Warrior of the Persian Empire, the Spartans of Greece, the Eastern European Winged Hussars, the Berserkers of the Norse people, the Norse Vikings, as well as the Praetorian Guard of the Romans. But when it comes to Africa, many people can't even name 3 elite units, which is kind of sad. Sure, some people can name the Medjay of Egypt and also the Impi of the Zulus, but what else is there? This is why I'm making this video, to introduce you to some warrior cultures which aren't very well known and which aren't seen very much in pop culture. So hopefully you're intrigued and you do more research and find out more about these awesome epic warrior cultures. So the warrior cultures I'll cover in this video are from the Edo Benin Empire, the Yoruba Oyo Empire, and the Malinke Mali Empire. So starting with the Benin Empire of the Edo, their overall military was called Ayo, excuse my pronunciation. So their military was divided into 3 regiments. They had a village regiment, they had a metropolitan regiment, and a royal regiment. The village regiment was led by chiefs who were ruling the various villages around the empire on the behalf of the Oba. So they were semi-autonomous, but they were paying tribute to the Oba. So if the Oba did call men to arms, yeah, they had to get ready. They had to fund themselves. They had to give arms to the people in their village and go to battle or whatever summons the Oba had given. Next, we have the Metropolitan Regiment. Now, the Metropolitan Regiment kept order in the city of Benin. So they were like the police of the empire. So they were keeping law and order throughout the city. These were led by the Ezomo, who was a chief, part of the main council of the Uzoma chieftain council. Then thirdly, you had the Royal Regiment, which is where we see the elite warriors of the Benin Empire. Now, the Royal Regiment was pretty much the only standing army that the Benin had. So it was comprised of warriors that were in charge of keeping the Oba safe and also enforcing the Oba's will. Now, the Royal Regiment was led by the Edogun, and under the Edogun was the Ekokbian, who led the Isienmwenro, who are the elite warriors of the Benin Empire. The Isienmwenro were referred to as the soldier ants that sting the enemies of the king. Translated, that. So they were pretty much the king's enforcers. So it's said that the king, the Oba, would have the Isienmwenro in different regions, different towns, cities all over the empire, where he had people who he deemed enemies, people who were obviously not in his good graces, and he would send them if there was any issues to deal with any opposition to him. The Isienmwenro were very loyal to the Oba, and it goes back to the establishment of the dynasty that is currently in Benin even till this day. So the Isienmwenro were established after the collapse of the Igoso dynasty of the Benin Empire. They're pretty much from a specific clan of origin called the Isienmwenro. Now, it's said that the father of this clan was called Edogun, which is the title given to the captain of the royal regiment, but it also appears to be the name of their ancestor. So this specific clan, only being born of this clan could give you the privilege of being an Isienmwenro and a royal guard member. So they were said to be very loyal to the Oba, to the point where in certain periods there was conflict because of how loyal they were to the Oba when the Oba was making reforms. For example, Oba Edewo was making reforms during his reign. This is the 4th Oba. He had disagreements with many chiefs within his council and outside of it. And because of this, there was conflict. But because he had a standing army for himself, the Isienmwenro, there wasn't much issue. He managed to maintain power. Now, the Isienmwenro, being the elite soldiers of the Oba, would have definitely been given good arms and armor, I believe. So many of the Benin plaques, I believe, are showing these warriors, but it's just not clear which ones exactly are showing these warriors. I wish someone would, someone who's an expert in this would highlight, oh, this right here is definitely an Isienmwenro based on the attire, based on the armor. But unfortunately, I did try to find some more information on that, so I can't confirm if certain artwork is depicting them. But I do presume that it is, because they are elite warriors. They would be guarding the Oba, they would be shielding him, they would be also doing his work, which is being the soldier ants that sting the king's enemies. So aside from their arms and armor, what made an Isienmwenro distinct was also their tattoos. Now in the Edo culture, there is a tattoo culture called Iwo. Now this culture has symbols and symbology which relate to their religion, their social status, and so on. So when it comes to the Isienmwenro, they had one called Ogala Ewere, which means the spear of Ewere. Ewere was a warrior Oba going back centuries, and I presume he's the one that established the Isienmwenro. So it's like in honor of him. So they're called the spears of the Oba. So as you can see on this illustration, it looks like there's a spear point on one side of the warrior. This spear point shows that this was an Isienmwenro. So if you, let's say you're in medieval Benin and you see this warrior, just a random warrior by himself, and you see that tattoo, you just know, oh, this is one of the king's guards. Be very, very careful. You got to give some respect where respect is due. He's got a lot of power, and he's probably very trained, well-trained warrior. So as stated, the Oba would send these warriors into different areas if he knew there was either enemies or various people trying to go against him, and they would be stationed in certain towns and cities. If the Oba needed to mobilize all of them and gather all of them from different cities and regions and villages that he would have sent them to, he could do that, and yeah, he would be their commander and main leader. Now, these being the main King's Guard, just keep in mind the royal regiment did have other warriors that weren't Isienmwenro. Like I said, the Isienmwenro are a specific clan of warrior from a specific family, which is very important in the Edo history and culture. Now, moving on to the Oyo Empire of the Yoruba. Now, their military in certain periods of history was primarily cavalry. The reason being was a portion of the empire was located in the Savannah region instead of further south in the rainforest area. So in the Savannah region, horses could survive, but if they went south, there's the tsetse fly, which is an insect which carries a disease that kills these animals very quickly. That's why in certain areas of Africa, you can't have horses. Like where the Edo Empire of Benin was, they did have a cavalry, but it wasn't as big as the Oyo one. So Oyo relied on cavalry within the Savannah region. Now, the leader of the Oyo Empire's military was the Are Ona Konfe, excuse my pronunciation. He was pretty much the marshal or the general, the commander general of the entire empire. Now, he was not allowed to go into the main capital city of Oyo Ile, so they were only allowed outside of the city, but there was periods where they went in, and yeah, this is during civil wars. Now, this general would have been chosen by the Alaafin and would have been expected to fight to the T. If the general gets defeated, he was expected to unalive himself. It's like seppuku. You failed me, you failed your honor, you're done. With the Aren Ona Konkonfo not being allowed to enter the metropolitan area of the city, the army within the city was ruled or managed by the Bashoron, who is the prime minister of the Oyo Empire. Now, the Bashorons in certain periods had a lot of power. Like, for example, Bashoron Ba, who was one who caused a lot of problems for the Alaafin. Literally, during his reign, he managed to get, I think, 5 or 4 Alaafins to unalive themselves, because in the Oyo tradition, if the Alaafin does not perform to the standard which they want, of which the council is expecting, they have to unalive themselves. They're given like an empty calabash or peacock feathers or something like that, and they have to unalive themselves once they receive that, because it's a sign that they've been rejected and they've failed. So being an Alaafin and emperor of the Oyo Empire was a very, very important thing. It was very strict, and they tried to make sure that the emperor did not have too much power. However, sometimes this control that they had backfired on them, and the innocent emperors that are trying to do good ended up getting, which is kind of sad, especially under this guy, Bashoron Ga. Now, going back to the elite warriors. So in the Oyo Empire, the elite warriors were called Eso. Now, specifically in the Oyo Empire, there was the Eso of Ikoyi. Now, this was the elite warriors chosen amongst the various warriors within the empire who had distinct themselves, shown skill, strength, and military intelligence, and so on. So they were given power and honor. So anyone could grow to this rank if they had proven themselves to be worthy of that rank. There was apparently a city or town called Ikoyi Ile, I believe, and in that city and town is where they were sent to train once they were chosen. So they would go through rigorous training, learn the warrior code, because they had a strict warrior code, which actually is similar to the samurai bushido, I believe, bushido code, because, for example, with these warrior elites, they were expected to never turn their backs in war. Even if they're losing, they had to, if they were losing, if they were going to die, they had to die ensuring that wounds were in the front, no wounds at the back. So they believed in an honorable death. Even if death was facing them, they had to have honor, they had to have no fear, and they had to stand firm and fight till the end. So they were pretty much, it's a ride or die. They're like, if my my Alafin or my commander commands me and I have to die here, I'm gonna do it. Which is pretty much similar to the samurai culture. They had to put their honor first, even at the face of death. Now, this military unit had an entire code, so you can look that up and just learn more about it. But yeah, they were pretty tough. So pretty much they were a cavalry unit, so they would obviously would have been equipped with the best armor, the best weapons, and would have been very tactical and knowledgeable and experienced. Our last but not least, we have the Mali Empire, which was established by Sunjata Keita. When Mansa Sunjata created the Mali Empire, he did it with 16 Tontigi chiefs. Now, the Tontigi were pretty much clan leaders of Mande clans, which united to create the Mali Empire. But other Mande clans were eventually absorbed by the empire. So when this happened, the military was reformed. So in the military, there was two generals. There was a northern general and a southern general. And at the top of it, of course, was the Mansa, the emperor. Then below them are the Tontigi, who are the clan princes, chiefs. Now, many of the Tontigi were given the title Farima, which means great men. So they were given roles where they would oversee vassal princes, regions, and make sure that the Mansa's law is being kept. So they had the power to oust the governor or chief in that region and take power. So it was a very important role. And below them were the Farima, who are brave men. So you've got the great brave men with a lot of power, princes, nobles, and you've got the Farima. Just keep in mind, the Farimba sometimes would have been slaves as well, only answering to the Mansa, which is very strange, isn't it? Yeah. So a title that was given to high nobles was also given to slaves who had shown that they were very resourceful, intelligent, and loyal to the Mansa. Anyway, going back to the Farima, the brave men, these were the elite warriors of the Mali Empire. They came from noble families and also led their own units in battle. So these warriors would have been equipped with armor from Northern Africa, local armor made of different materials, and they would have had horses. They would have been able to maintain and afford to keep horses. They would have had, as I said, their own unit of warriors under them. So with the expansion of the Mali Empire, the Farima and the Farimba played a huge role. Like, for example, with the expansion where they took over the Wolof Empire, and so on. So they were very important even after the collapse of the Mali Empire. There were successor states that took over certain regions of Western Africa. For example, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Many of these people expanded, and many of the rulers and founders of kingdoms were Farima. For example, the Koya chiefdom of Liberia was founded by a Farima called Farma Tami. Now, with people expanding and so on, the languages and dialects change. So Farma is from the title Farimba Tami. So a Farima founded his own chiefdom or kingdom in this region, and it didn't just happen once, it happened multiple times. It just goes to show how resourceful, how powerful they were, because they went all over Western Africa. That's why the Mandinka have so much influence, the Mande people within Western Africa. That's why they're so important. That's why they're so well known. That's why some of them, some people within the Americas are descendants of them. So when they were expanding all over Western Africa, this was called the Mane invasions. Yeah, so there's a lot of history to go through when it comes to this, the conflicts that they had with people that they were coming in contact with. It was just chaos. So it was like literally Viking. They were acting like Vikings, going around raiding, taking land, conquering, and also establishing kingdoms for the people that they were conquering. Like with the case here, the kingdom that I've mentioned, the Koya kingdom or chiefdom, that was a Tanme kingdom, but a Farima, a Mande Farima, seems to have founded the kingdom. So of these three elite warriors, please let me know which one is your favorite based on what I've said today. Which one would you want to be, or would you want to train as? Yeah, I would say the Oyo one is kind of scary. You know what I mean? Like the warrior code, the honor. Like hey, whether when I'm losing, when I'm winning, I have to give it my all, which is cool. But like sometimes you don't want to lose your main warriors. You know what I mean? that's samurai level dedication right there. So I respect them. But me personally, I'm not gonna lie, I would prefer to be the Isienmwenro. The Isienmwenro sound badass. Imagine you can just walk, people see your tattoo there, that's the spear of Oweri. They'll be like, oh my god, yes, respect. This is the Oba's god. We have to make sure we've got respect. But to be honest, all the others would have had respect as well, so I don't know, which one would you have chosen? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, excuse my pronunciations, this was very hard for me, I'm not gonna lie. West African languages for me are so tough, but you know what, that's just, it is what it is. I just had to express this and spread this today. So hopefully you've learned something new. If you have, let me know, and if you've got any more information regarding them, that something that I may have missed, maybe I've said something wrong, please correct me, feel free. But anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and yeah, I will be continuing this series, so don't worry. If I've not mentioned an elite warrior unit that you love, I will likely cover it in the future. But anyway, thank you for watching. Yes, I am your chief. Good day.